Imagine being tied down, your ribs slowly separated from your spine, your lungs pulled out and spread like wings, while you were still alive. This horrifying image isn't from a modern horror film, but from a legend more than 1,000 years old. It's called the blood eagle, one of the most infamous and brutal torture methods attributed to the Vikings. But here's the real question: did it actually happen? Or is it a myth twisted through time, used to demonize, dramatize, or perhaps even glorify a people whose legacy walks the line between civilization and savagery? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Today, we dive deep into the origins, controversies, and cultural impact of the blood eagle. This is not just a story about pain, it's about power, propaganda, and how history is written. Before we get deeper into this grim ritual, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for more spine-chilling stories from history. The legend of the blood eagle. The blood eagle first emerges in medieval texts describing Viking revenge rituals. According to these accounts, a victim, usually a high-ranking enemy, was captured, bound face down, and subjected to a gruesome execution. The torturer would slice open the victim's back, sever the ribs from the spine, and pull the lungs through the openings, spreading them outward to resemble wings. Salt might be rubbed into the wounds, and in some versions of the story, the victim remained conscious throughout the process. The act was said to be reserved for particularly serious crimes or betrayals. Most famously, the blood eagle was allegedly performed by Ragnar Lothbrok's sons on King Ella of Northumbria as revenge for their father's death. The tale, preserved in Old Norse sagas like the Orkneyinga saga and the tale of Ragnar's sons, has captivated historians and audiences for centuries. But how much of this is historical fact, and how much is medieval storytelling? Can we trust the sources? The earliest references to the blood eagle appear not in Viking Age records, but in texts written centuries later. Many of these come from Christian chroniclers, who were often motivated to depict pagan practices as barbaric and godless. In these sources, Viking violence is amplified, sometimes exaggerated, to portray them as the ultimate other, savage threats to the Christian world. It's important to understand that medieval sagas were not objective records. They were oral traditions, later written down by scribes, often with political or moral agendas. In many cases, violent acts were embellished for drama or symbolism rather than accuracy. The idea of tearing open a man's back and turning his lungs into wings is horrifying, but also theatrical, almost mythic. Some scholars argue that the blood eagle wasn't a real ritual at all, but a poetic metaphor. In Old Norse poetry, kennings, figurative expressions, were often used in place of literal descriptions. Carving an eagle on someone's back could have been symbolic language for killing or defeating an enemy in battle, especially if the person's corpse was left for scavenging birds. Over time, poetic imagery may have been interpreted literally by later writers, giving birth to the legend of the blood eagle. Anatomical possibility or pure fiction? Let's assume for a moment that the blood eagle was real. Could it actually be done? Anatomists and historians have debated whether the described torture was even physically possible. The separation of ribs from the spine, removal of the lungs, and keeping a person alive through the process would require a near-surgical level of precision and immense cruelty. Modern experts suggest that while it might technically be possible to perform such a procedure, the victim would likely die early in the process, possibly from shock, blood loss, or suffocation. There is no physical evidence, no skeletal remains or forensic records that confirm the blood eagle was ever carried out. All we have are literary accounts, many of which contradict one another or appear in obviously dramatized contexts. So, was the blood eagle a real Viking execution method or an impossible myth exaggerated over centuries? The cultural power of fear. Whether or not the blood eagle actually happened, it served a powerful purpose: fear. The Blood Eagle story also contributes to a broader issue, the oversimplification of Viking identity. While tales of violence dominate popular culture, the Vikings were far more than just raiders and torturers. They were traders, settlers, artisans, shipbuilders, and explorers. They traveled as far as North America, Russia, Byzantium, and even the Islamic world. By focusing solely on brutality, especially rituals like the Blood Eagle, we risk turning a complex civilization into a caricature. This distortion isn't just a modern problem. It began centuries ago when Viking history was first recorded by those who didn't understand or respect Norse culture. Many early Christian chroniclers had their own agendas, casting Vikings as wild, godless savages in order to highlight the righteousness of Christianity. Oversimplifying their story to just swords and slaughter undermines the full scope of their contributions to global history. It also limits our understanding of how diverse and adaptable these people really were. They weren't static characters in a saga of violence. They were dynamic agents of change in a world undergoing massive transformation. To see them only as blood-soaked raiders is to miss the real impact they had on trade, culture, politics, and language throughout the medieval world. So, how do we strike a balance between acknowledging their brutality and honoring their brilliance? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. History versus stereotype. In recent years, historians have worked to dismantle one-dimensional portrayals of the Vikings. Far from being mere brutes, the Norse were also traders, craftsmen, explorers, and lawmakers. They established trade routes from Scandinavia to Byzantium and beyond. They founded settlements, created art, and practiced complex systems of governance. The Blood Eagle, whether real or myth, feeds into the stereotype of the Vikings as bloodthirsty savages. It distracts from the richness of their culture and oversimplifies their role in history. While there's no denying that Viking raids were brutal, the overemphasis on torture and gore often serves modern sensationalism more than historical truth. By continuing to sensationalize the Blood Eagle, popular media runs the risk of reinforcing outdated myths instead of exploring the full, nuanced story of the Viking world. Modern obsession with ancient violence. So why are we still so fascinated with the Blood Eagle? Part of it is the sheer shock value. Gruesome stories stick with us. They trigger a primal reaction: fear, disgust, awe. That's why shows like Vikings and The Last Kingdom have recreated the Blood Eagle on screen with vivid, unforgettable imagery. It's horrific, but it draws viewers in. The ritual also taps into deeper themes: revenge, justice, power. Whether it happened or not, the idea of someone going to such lengths to avenge a loved one resonates across cultures and eras. And let's face it, there's a certain dark curiosity that makes us want to understand the limits of human cruelty. What are we capable of when we dehumanize others? What lines do we cross when seeking vengeance or power? Our obsession with such rituals shows how the boundary between history and myth blurs when stories become symbols. Yet in seeking the thrill, we risk losing sight of the truth. A legacy that refuses to die. The Blood Eagle may never be proven true or false. It exists in that shadowy space between history and myth. Its impact isn't measured in bones or blood, but in fear, fascination, and the power of storytelling. Whether it was a real Viking punishment, a misunderstood metaphor, or Christian propaganda, the Blood Eagle has shaped how generations have viewed the Norse world. It's part of a legacy that includes both glory and horror, civilization and savagery. And maybe that's the real story. Not the lungs spread like wings, but how a tale of torture became one of the most enduring legends in Viking history. So, what do you believe? Was the Blood Eagle a real ritual, or just an epic exaggeration? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more truth, myth, and mystery from the Viking Age and beyond.